He's here, now broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building. We've once again made contact with our leader and true conservative, Bunker Bob. Yes, good morning. Good morning to everyone. It is great to be with you. Today, it is a wonderful day again, and I want to tell you, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get this as Bunker Bob, and I'm thrilled to have you with me today. You know, we've done a lot of things over the last couple of weeks, and one of them is identify and highlight the actions of the different candidates and compare candidates' words and actions. And today we come back to Lorna Kipphut and some of the things that she has said, some of the outrageous things that she says, because what's great about, I'll just say this, what's great about Lorna Kipphut is that she is a constant flow resource of great material, because it is, and this is the big difference between conservatives and the liberal left, like Mark and Lorna Kipphut. Mrs. Kipphut, of course, is the wife of Mark Kipphut, who ran for city council 3 years ago and failed, lost by a landslide to me or to Wayne Orchard, I should say. And he's trying to climb his way back into city politics through his wife. And we're doing our best to highlight the facts. But the difference between conservatives and liberals, as I have articulated on every show, is we judge people by their actions and not their words. And the great thing about what I do, is I don't argue nonsense. I argue facts of evidence. I present to you facts of evidence. I show you the facts, and I'm going to show you how different it is to listen to a liberal like Lorna Kipphut and a conservative like me, and you'll understand more as we go along if this is the first time you've seen the daily show. So let's just start with the fact with one of the people who have been a part of this of this campaign, obviously, Lorna Kipphut, and let's just look at one of the Facebook post that she just posted yesterday. And this is, and I'm going to just go through it and highlight for you where the difference between conservatives and liberals. Just watch this. Sundays, she writes, have always been a day of reflection for me and a day to prepare for what lies in the week ahead. Today, I'm reflecting on my life, the last 4 months, and what impact these months will have on my life overall. I have spent the last 40 years serving what I believe is a bigger cause. As you know, I was in the Air Force for 20 years, spending 4 years of that time overseas, pre-internet era, speaking to my family a few times a year. It was my job, and I knew what I was doing was important. But have no doubt, I miss my family dearly, and I cannot get that time back. I spent the next 20 years happily raising my daughter and volunteering in my community, be it military or civilian, helping children navigate this world. And to Mrs. Kipphut, as we have said before, I have never, ever dishonored veterans, even though your husband says that I have, even though he lied about it. I've never dishonored veterans, and I thank you for your service, as all of us in the city do. Let me continue. She writes, why is this important to you as a voter? Because my opponent is a veteran too. However, he chose to run against me solely because I am a veteran, and he thought it would be, quote, fun, end quote. He even asked the incumbent, that would be Adrienne Balcom, to give up her seat so he could run against me. Well, let's just look at exactly what David Day said. This is his announcement that's in the Rockwall Hilarious banner. and it was edited, even though from what he had submitted. But this is what David Day says. He says, "I want to help preserve what's left of our community's unique open space design. That means upholding existing city standards in the future, like the ones requiring a minimum 1.5 acre home site and limiting the size and scope of our city government," Day said. "My campaign is about protecting the quality of life for those of us who actually live and pay taxes inside our city. Lately, it's been county neighbors of McClendon Chisholm whose influence has cost us money. We're already obligated for their emergency services for free, and now they want to turn us into the Highland Park of Rockwall County." You see, that's why David Day is running for office. Now, he did say, Day said he specifically asked current Place 1 council member Adrian Balcom, who is now running for Place 5, if he could run against Lorna Kipphut Place 1 campaign. He says, quote, "Call it Navy versus Air Force," Day said, noting his and Kipphut's shared veteran status. He didn't say it would be fun. And when you look at what she writes, she says, "Because my opponent is a veteran too. However, he chose to run against me solely because I'm a veteran." Not true. Not true at all. I will say that when David Day called to talk to me and ask me for advice, I said that I would recommend that he try to run against Lorna Kipphut. And the reason why is because in the last election, the three candidates, Short, Larkin, and Bloom, were all veterans, and they used that as the one thing throughout the entire campaign and appealed to veterans. They played identity politics. If you're a veteran, you've got to support veterans. I told David, I said, if you want to bring in an even playing ground, opportunity to win an election for yourself, I think it would be great for you to run against a fellow veteran. He agreed, because this so-called open when Lorna Kipphut talks about open spaces, she's only kidding. We already know that. I've already demonstrated on previous shows that that's just not true. But the problem that Lorna Kipphut doesn't understand is David Day is not running against Lorna Kipphut. He's running against Lorna Kipphut, Trudy Wassner, and William Dahl. And Adrian Balcom is not just running against William Dahl. She's running against Lorna Kipphut and Trudy Wassner. And Scott Turnbull's not just running against Trudy Wassner. He's running against Lorna Kipphut and William Dahl as well. Why? Because there is a dramatic difference between the three candidates, the three sets of candidates, or the two sets of three candidates. One is conservative. That'd be Adrian Balcom, Scott Turnbull, and David Day. The other ones are liberals. As we've demonstrated again and again and again, who don't care about our open spaces. They say they do. They give lip service to it, but they don't. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it again to you today. But David Day did not run solely because she's a veteran. No, he wanted to take that issue, that issue of veteran status, out of the picture. He wanted to deal with issues. He wanted this campaign to be about issues. So veterans wouldn't have to decide, well, yeah, I want to vote for a veteran, but goodness knows, I like the other person. They're more conservative. Because the Kipphuts, the Wassners, the Dahls, and all last year, Mark Kipphut and Mike Donegan and former Mayor Gary Moody, all of these guys, they focused on the irrelevant, and they led the entire campaign last year to win with half-truths and misinformation, as I have been laying out to you day after day. So the fact is, David Day is running against the three of you, Mrs. Kipphut, because none of you are true conservatives. You give lip service to conservatism. It's why the three of you were attended and went to the Democrat candidate forum, which was just an hour before the Republican candidate forum. See, Balcom, Day, and Turnbull, who are actual Republicans, they're not going to go to a Democrat candidate for him because they're true conservatives. They're true Republicans. Let's move on. Every time I explain that rationale to a veteran, they are perplexed. Of course they are perplexed. I mean, if the only reason you're running is to run against a veteran, yeah, that is perplexing. That's curious. That's quite queer. Of course, it's not true. This demonstrates again, Mrs. Kipphut, why you are known as Lying Lorna. You're going door to door telling people lies. That's your motive. That's the Kipphut Doctrine. We keep talking about this. You will say whatever it takes to win this election. Their response mirrored mine. Veterans stand together. They do not tear apart. Oh, really? Really? Veterans stand together. They do not tear apart? Do you recognize these two guys? Both of these guys are World War II veterans, decorated. Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. Let me show you. Sorry. There you go. Now you can see. Both of these guys are veterans. They are World War II veterans. That's George Herbert Walker Bush and Bob Dole. You know what they were doing together in 1988? They were running for president in the Republican primary against one another. These are two veterans. World War II veterans, I might add. And then in 2000, George W. Bush and John McCain, they also ran against each other in the Republican primary. You keep saying veterans stand together. They do not tear apart. Well, let's put you to the test. Why don't we put you to the test? Do you know who this guy is? This guy's Jim Herron. He's a member of city council. He's a guy that I recruited to come on city council. We were able to appoint him to fill Jerry Klutt's seat after former Mayor Hodges attempted to violate Texas state law by trying to get his friend Mach Kipphut to be appointed, despite the fact that Wayne Orchard and I had already said Adrian Balcom we would like to appoint her. But in the end, we ended up putting Jim Herron on the council, and I'm so glad we did. Actually, I'm not sure if he was filling Jerry Klutt's seat after all, because I'll have to look back on whose seat. But I do think that he was an appointee at first. Now maybe not. Actually, my memory on that is a little foggy. I'm trying to think. Maybe we didn't fill that seat at all. Maybe he was just elected. But I recruited him to run for city council and for place 5, and he did. And so Jim Herron, he is, just so you know who Jim Herron is, for more than 30 years, Jim served with distinction in the United States Air Force, 20 of them as part of Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He continues his service to his country as Director of Aircraft Integration and Innovation, overseeing the integration and installation of state-of-the-art airborne satellite terminals on the United States Air Force's elite blue and white fleet of aircraft, which include the VC-25A, also known as Air Force One. This is Jim Herron. Are we familiar with Jim Herron? Is he a veteran? Veterans, remember, veterans stand together. They do not tear apart. Or do they? Do you remember this? I'm sure a lot of you who've watched the knife-wielding man video, you've seen this. This is the sign that was created, that was put together by a veteran. We remember the veteran, don't we? The dancing clown. We remember what this man looks at. We remember what he believes, right? We remember that he thinks that it's funny to go around and
create these signs that, and if you notice, this sign has Jim Herron's face, his picture crossed out. Jim Herron, that's a picture of Adrian Balcom, Scott Turnbull, and Jim Herron. And this veteran created these signs, even though you say, Lorna Kipphut, that veterans stand together, they do not tear apart. Now, would you participate in this nonsense? Would Lorna Kipphut, I ask, would she participate in this nonsense? Well, of course she would. Because when she says veterans stand together, they do not tear apart, she is lying. You see what this is from the clown. This post, the social media post. Mark Kipphut has a sign on his property on the way to City Hall. Yes, this is what you get when you elect someone like Lorna Kipphut. Lorna Kipphut tells you that veterans stand together. They do not tear apart. But of course, she doesn't mean that. Now, of course, we recognize that she also says, and this, as she continues in her post, she says, to take it even further, my veteran opponent and his supporters have written and published and spoken lies about me. Okay, let's hear the lies. They say I am in the pocket of developers. I work for and backed by a realtor, therefore I'm for high home density, and the list goes on and on. Well, why don't you share that list of on and all the lies? This is just campaign rhetoric and untruthful statements to most, however, not to me. Really? Untrue statements? Well, let's just look at your campaign finance report. What does it show? Well, of course, we see former Mayor Mike Donegan there. He's given $350. And then there's someone interesting. The next one is the largest donor to your campaign, to the Lorna Kipphut campaign. The next highest dollar amount is $500. So this is the single largest gift in her campaign for $1,000. And who is this? Who is this by? It is by the person who is a realtor with Ebby Holiday Realtors. Now, I didn't highlight her. I didn't reveal her name. But what I have done is I have posted this on the YouTube site, so you can go and look at the campaign finance report for yourself. You can see this and see who it is. And one thing you'll notice, look at the treasurer's name and then look at this donor's name. Look at Lorna Kipphut's treasurer's name and look at this donor's name. Oh, and by the way, her treasurer, her campaign treasurer, her largest donor. Oh, by the way, who she happens to work for, does not live in the city of McLennan-Chisholm. Now, let's go back and reread this because maybe I misunderstood. To take it even further, my veteran opponent and his supporters have written and published and spoken lies about me. They say I am in the pocket of developers. I work for and backed by a realtor. Therefore, I am for high home density, and the list goes on and on. This is just campaign rhetoric and untruthful statements to most, however, not to me. What's untrue? You are in the pocket of developers. You have your entire campaign. Your campaign is funded by the same developers, by the same developer-friendly former councilmen and mayors who made those backroom deals, who made sure that we have a city hall that costs $2.125 million for a 5,000 square foot facility, who are chomping at the bit to get the Triple Creek development agreement changed, modified, so that they can put in 1,867 homes on 409 buildable acres. I'm just curious. You keep talking about how important the 1.5 acre standard is, apparently, which was interesting, by the way. That you're actually saying that according to what we read in the Rockwell Hilarious banner yesterday, or on our last show, where I highlight how the banner's choice in going to the Democrat candidate forum. We highlighted that in in a county that votes 80-something% Republican. And what was interesting about it was that you, Lorna Kipphut, Trudy Wassenaar, William Dahl, y'all were the only ones who attended from McLennan Chisholm, because the real Republicans, they wouldn't go to a Democrat candidate forum. But what's interesting is, and what I find curious, is how scripted you guys seem. I've just been notified that I'm getting a copy of the video of this forum. And I'll be very interested to see how accurate Mr. Fisher, the so-called the propagandist, the person I call a propagandist, I'm going to see how accurate his reporting is. Because when things don't make sense, they're usually not true. It doesn't make sense. But we'll deal with that on an upcoming show, I assure you. But the fact of the matter is, you keep talking about 1.5 acre minimum per home site, and you say that in this forum, but here's the one thing that you don't say. The one thing that you don't say in the candidate forum is that you will uphold it. You will uphold our city standard, the 1.5 acre minimum per home site standard, that you will not deviate from it, and that you will hold that firm. Why aren't you saying that? That's what I'd like to know. I think that's what a lot of people would like to know. Just campaign rhetoric and untruthful statements? No. Everything that you write, everything that you say we're saying about you, you are proving to be true. You are backed by a realtor. You are. We just showed it. And what's the rest of the list? I'm dying to know what the rest of the list is. Here she says, so think about this when you go to the polls. Do you want a person that will deceive you to get a vote? Do you want a person that will slander another person to get a vote? I don't. Hey, Lorna, I don't. That's why I'm not voting for you. Do you want a person to bully another person to get a vote? Slander. What is slander? Slander is a lie. Oh, doggone it. I should have put the Father O'Donegan video in here. I didn't. But slander is saying something that you know to be untrue, that is harmful, that is intended to tarnish, to castigate, to vilify. Now, who would have done something like that? Mrs. Kipphut, you've done that. And you've done that on public record. Let me just show you, because I think the people watching this might be interested in seeing the real Lorna Kipphut. This is from a March 12th meeting minutes. And this is Councilmember Turnbull on I believe it was April, on the following meeting, addressed the issue, because again, he's trying not to violate Texas open meeting standards by speaking about something that's not on the agenda. Ms. Kipphut, you spoke about something on the agenda, or that was not on the agenda. You spoke about it during citizens' comments. So Mr. Turnbull turned around on the next meeting, put it on the agenda so he could address your lies, your outright lies. You want to know? You want to see what your lies are? Let's everybody look at Lorna Kipphut. This is for the public. This is for public record. This is for the this is something that you can find online at City Hall. I've got a link to this as well, so you can look at it. But here's what you say. I think it's unbecoming of our city council when last night Mr. Turnbull slandered the reputation of city accountants, stating, and I quote, "I believe there has been the possibility of mistakes being hidden with no evidence offered to support his claim. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, the audit and budget were presented to the council and no such allegations were made or line items questioned." That is quite a claim that you are saying that Mr. Turnbull said, which is interesting because Mr. Turnbull then corrected the record, and he did so in a public way for the record. Here's what he said. This is it's an agenda item. Public statement by Councilmember Turnbull regarding statements made during March 12th, 2019 citizen comments portion of the city council meeting. Now, just so that you understand, since Councilmember Turnbull could not speak on the issue at the time, and because the minutes had not been approved, and even if they had been approved, Robert's Rules allows for minutes to be corrected, amended, and updated, and an appendage to be added, so that if someone's looking at this March 12th, at these March 12th minutes, they can actually see a correction in there. That's good. That's called transparency. I doubt you're okay with this, but that's transparency. He says, Mayor Pro Tem Turnbull stated that on March 12th, a citizen attributed a quote to me, and the quote is, quote, "I think it is unbecoming of our city council when they slandered the reputation of the city accountant, stating," and I quote, "I believe there has been the possibility of mistakes being hidden with no evidence offered to support his claim. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, the audit and budget were presented to the council, and no such allegations were made or line items questioned." Interesting. What I actually said, though, this is Councilmember Turnbull correcting the record. Councilmember Larkin asked Mayor Pro Tem if he was recommending Judd Thomas. Mayor Pro Tem Turnbull answered yes and no. I am recommending them. If I was choosing them without knowledge of their price, without knowing their price, the answer is yes. I do believe they offer things Ray's company doesn't. Ray is the accountant. Ray has been with us a long time. That's good, but it's also bad in some ways. In accounting practices, you don't keep the same people all the time. It leads to the possibilities of things being hidden. I'll put it that way. This is slander. You're the one who slanders, Mrs. Kipphut, not Mr. Turnbull. You are. And so when we look at, when we continue to look at Mrs. Kipphut's post, she says, so think about this when you go to the polls. Do you want a person that will deceive you to get a vote? Do you want a person that will slander another person to get a vote? Do you want a person to bully another person to get a vote? No, I don't. But you sure do that a lot, don't you, Mrs. Kipphut? Yes, you do. Now, before I read this last part, I think it's appropriate that we have something set to music, because Mrs. Kipphut, she wants to stand on the grand old flag. She wants to really milk this for all it's worth. And so because of that, I want to honor her and pay homage to her, if I can get this working, and have some background music playing for you. And I can't, so it's not working. Well, anyway, sorry about that. Didn't work. But imagine some patriotic music being played in the background. She says, as I have talked to so many around McClendon Chisholm, they do not like this tactic. For those I have not yet spoken to, please consider this. As I have talked to so many around McClendon Chisholm, they do not like this tactic. For those I have not yet spoken to, please consider this. You want a veteran to stand side by side with another vet, because in the heat of battle, they stand together. They do not stand apart. That's what I know, and that is how I act. As your council member, I will stand with you and defend you, unless you disagree with me. And then I will vilify you. I will demonize you. I'll castigate you. I'll send this idiot. I'll send this idiot out to do some things that you are not going to enjoy. Because that's who the real Lorna Kipphut is. That's who the real Lorna Kipphut is, as we've seen. You know, I think you've seen the real Lorna Kipphut, and I've shown you the real Lorna Kipphut, and I think it's time to move on to another topic, and in this one, actually, this is the one that actually has her own theme song, And so I'm going to, without introduction, I'm going to go ahead and start this, and let's just and this will be the opening to this next segment that I think that you're going to like a lot. So let's go with it then. Hey, is that a way to start a new segment or what? This is going to be the opening song and theme to any time we want to deal with the former mayor's wife, Lori Moody, who has decided that she knows so much about this campaign, and she thinks she believes that her voice needs to be heard. So let's hear what a decent person would say. Let's hear how campaign rhetoric of the Moody's continues to permeate this election. She writes, "It's almost 5-4. May 4th is what she means. We all know what that means. That's election day. No more lies, though. No more lies. No more council attacking our beloved citizens of McClendon Chisholm. Which citizens have been attacked? That's what's funny. I mean, this is on a social media site that is nothing but attack. That's all they do is attack, vilify, demonize. The most base level of attacks that you can find. She says, no more 3 a.m. council meetings. What you actually mean, Mrs. Moody, is no more council meetings that are televised. We're going to go back to when my husband was mayor, when everything was behind closed doors, under the table, so that your husband could grease his little hands, right, and get some money out of the taxpayers, right? How did he do that? He, of course, made some deals with developers to sell them insurance and hold the policy for, I don't know, Sonoma Verde, right, while he was mayor, but didn't disclose that, did not do publish a conflict of interest statement, never did, and you really enjoyed, and you don't ever want to stop being able to be taken to Cozumel, right? Was it Cozumel that the owner of Triple Creek took you and your husband on vacation while he was mayor? Never disclosed that. Isn't that true? It is. It's absolutely true. So that's no more 3 a.m. council meeting. No more city council nonsense. Really, what is nonsense to you? Let's find out what she defines nonsense. No more of a particular council member bringing their children to city council meetings so we can hear them screaming in the walls behind us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what she's referring to is the one council meeting where Councilmember Balcom, who is the mother of a 4-year-old boy and twin 2-year-old little girls, had to get to city council by 6:30. And her husband, because there was a wreck on the freeway, on the interstate, could not get home in time. So what do you want her to do? Stay home? She sees her responsibility as important. But Mrs. Moody doesn't care about that. So she's making fun of Adrienne Balcom, who's in a bit of a bind. And she does her public service duty. She takes that seriously. She brings her kids to city council, where a nice woman, Melody Osorio, she was the candidate. She was a candidate last year, right? She took care of the kids in the conference room. And we're talking about a 4-year-old and two 2-year-olds. They're not going to be quiet, but unfortunately it disturbed you, I guess. Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. Ms. Moody, were you even at that council meeting? You weren't, were you? No, you were not at that council meeting. If you want to know what kind of person Lori Moody is, this should tell you everything. A woman who attacks a mom who's trying to serve her city and does it through her children. But that's okay to all of you on the FU McLennan Chisholm page, right? You're okay with that. You don't mind that. What does it say? What does she continue saying? No more rolling of the eyes of a particular council member while citizens speak. No more of council members smacking their gum loudly while citizens speak. No more of council members getting up and leaving while citizens speak. No more disrespect to our citizens. Folks, you know, the sign of disrespect to citizens, I'll tell you what the sign of disrespect to citizens is: not allowing them to exercise their First Amendment right to speak. That's, to me, the ultimate sign of disrespect. When I was mayor, I was the only mayor, by the way, in the history of our city who allowed citizens to speak untethered by a time limit. When I became mayor, the first thing I did was tell citizens, you can talk as long as you want. You can say whatever you want. But don't expect me to sit here and go, oh, okay, I'm a whatever, fill in the blank that you want to use, which they did. They called us all sorts of names, but we are supposed to just sit there. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm that. Really? You think that I'm supposed to smile too? Well, I'm sorry. And when you have people who support you, who are part of your group, who started the FU McLennan Chisholm page, a guy who stands up at city council meeting and castigates me for urging citizens to make sure that their smoke detectors are working because he says smoke detectors don't save lives. Yeah, I'm going to roll my eyes at that. Who wouldn't roll their eyes at that? You know who wouldn't? You know who didn't? Our current mayor, Keith Short, who was our candidate running for mayor. He stood up and berated me, how embarrassed he was that I would roll my eyes. What stupid person wouldn't? Of course, we now know that was a whole ploy, that you guys did that on purpose. You were trying to get a rise out of me. You only got an eye roll. Sorry. But Mrs. Moody, the only people who show disrespect to citizens are people like your husband, who basically put us into debt, long-term debt, without our knowledge or consent, without voter approval, to build a 5,000 square foot city hall building for $2.125 million. That's disrespect. I can keep going. And I have gone. How many times have I talked about these things? I've gone ad nauseum about the corrupt nature of your husband, Mrs. Moody. Sign thief. You've got a lot of room to talk, don't you? So let's continue. She writes, over 600 members belong to Families United, FU, McLennan Chisholm, who support Lorna Morgan Kipphut, Trudy Wassner, and William Dahl. Okay. So what I find interesting about that misstatement is you say that they support her. Okay, well, first of all, at least 45%, more than 45% of the people who are on this FU McLennan Chisholm site are not even citizens of McLennan Chisholm. Who the hell cares what they think? And those people who are still members of FU McLennan Chisholm, they haven't seen any of my videos. Because those who are getting word about these videos and starting to watch them, you know what they're doing? They're leaving your group. You're getting a lot of new members, though. You are, from outside of our city. But you're not getting members inside the city who have a discerning spirit, who have the idea that, hey, there's something askew about the lies being propagated by you, Mrs. Moody. Yeah, a lot of room to talk. This is I want to end with a little housekeeping. Remember the citizen survey that Lorna Kipphut and Trudy Wassner and William Dahl do not want you to participate in. Well, it's because it's too political. Well, this is interesting. I just got this. This is a 2019 congressional district census. Now, if you know the reason it's called a census, and if you read the first version, the first citizen survey in this report, I state that in actuality, while we call it a survey because it connotes certain things in people's minds, it's actually a census. That's what I state in here for those of you who can read, which obviously is not very many of you on the left. But I find it interesting that this 2019 congressional district census, John Ratcliffe, our congressman, puts out. I'm assuming Mrs. Kipphut, Mrs. Wassner, and Mr. Dahl, I'm assuming you think this is ridiculous too, that you don't want citizens to fill this out either, because this is an elected official and he is asking opinions. Are you suggesting don't do that? Don't participate in this survey either, this census? Because if you're saying, well, wait a minute, well, it's okay when John Ratcliffe does it. Oh, really? Why? Because it's, I mean, you want to talk, I mean, that's what these things are. They are political. But you know what it does for a member of Congress? What it does is it helps them to understand what the people in their district really think. And you know what? They do use these things. They want to make sure that they're staying in line with what the people of McLennan Chisholm, with what their people in their district think. Because that's important. And when we've done these city surveys that Kipphut, Wassner, and Dahl think are ridiculous, we've used these. And you know what? You know who else has used them? Kipphut, Wassner, and Dahl. You know why? Because they've been espousing, they've been using some of the rhetoric. Some of their rhetoric comes right from this survey. Why? Because they know that this is the way people really think. You know what they're not saying, folks? They're not saying we are going to protect our 1.5 acre minimum per home site standard. That is not what they're saying. They are saying we acknowledge, we hear that that's important to citizens. We get that. That's what they're supposed to be saying. We'll see if they actually said that in the Democrat forum, which will be another issue altogether. But regardless, they're saying the right things, or so it seems. But if they come by your house, ask them, are you going to promise to uphold our city's 1.5 acre minimum per home site standard? That's what I'd like to hear them say. I'd like them to be on record. They're not going to do it because they don't believe it. Folks, today has been an exercise of demonstrating once again who the real conservatives are, who the liberals, the leftists, Lorna Kipphut, William Dahl, and Trudy Wassner. They're all one. They're peas in a pod, right? They're three peas in a pod. Folks, I do hope that you will go out and vote. Be sure to vote at Heath if you can, if you're going to vote early. But if you wait until Election Day, I look forward to seeing you out there. So my name is Robert Steinhagen, Bunker Bob, as you know, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I do hope to see you, and I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the weather while it's still sunshine.